Hello, everyone. Welcome to Skills. I was going to say Skills 101, but that would really just make us all up, wouldn't it? Bethany Shipley is great with child. She's also celebrating her anniversary tonight. So we've had this little ongoing project to get me ready to step in for her, and we thought this would be a good idea if I just took it tonight. So not that that's all that difficult. I just have to start, press record, and introduce Kaylee. Kaylee, I've known Kaylee for a number of years. She's been a dear friend of my daughter, and those of you who are parents know how special it is when your children have really good friends who are really good for them and with them. And Kaylee, you've been that for Bethany, and I want to say publicly how much Sonia and I appreciate that, and we appreciate you. And thank you so much for prepping to guide us in this class tonight. And we'll get it posted so that we can share it with our other Enneagram 7 friends and other leaders in the future. So I'll turn it over to you. I'm going to mute myself and just take it away.
All righty. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaylee, and I live in Eugene, Oregon. Whoa, now it's weird that I just see myself. Okay. And I am a 7 on the Enneagram. I love the Enneagram. The 7 is generally called like the optimist or the enthusiast, and I definitely started getting really enthusiastic about the Enneagram a couple years ago, mostly because my friend Mariah is really into it, and so I started getting super into it. And 7s, when we get into something, we like to really dig into it, and so I have really just dug into the Enneagram and learned so much from it. And I feel like it is such a helpful, sorry, my husband is calling me, such a helpful tool in figuring out ourselves and just a self-awareness tool. I'm super passionate about not using the Enneagram as our identity. So though I am a 7 and I have 7 tendencies, my identity, because I'm a believer, is daughter of God. I can't fail at that. So anyway, let's get into the basics of a 7. If you guys wouldn't mind muting as you pop on so the recording can be nice and sharp. I'm just going to read really quick from the Enneagram Institute on 7s. Somebody is not muted. I hear you cooking. Wish I need to be doing soon. Anyway, okay, so 7s are extroverted, optimistic, versatile, and spontaneous, playful, high-spirited, and practical. They can also misapply their many talents, becoming overextended, scattered, and undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. They typically have problems with impatience and impulsiveness. At their best, they focus on their talents. They focus their talents on worthwhile goals, becoming appreciative, joyous, and satisfied. Their basic fear is of being deprived or in pain. And their basic desire is to be satisfied and content and to have their needs fulfilled. So Enneagram 7s, we also, as a 7, like any Enneagram number, has 2 wings. So the numbers next to you, so our numbers next to us are 6 and 8. And then you also have a number that you go to in stress and a number that you go to in growth. So we go to a 1 in stress and a 5 in growth. So the 7 is generally called the optimist, the adventurer, the risk taker, the visionary. We like to bring joy to the world. We can be really charming, logical, quick thinkers. We're always thinking. We're one of the thinking types. We want to be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and we like to have lots of options. If we aren't feeling like we have freedom, we get really like angsty. We are entrepreneurial in nature, because when we get excited about something, we love to share that excitement with others. And other people generally tend to enjoy being around 7s. They have like a Peter Pan type energy a lot of the times. A lot of the times sevens can be stereotyped as kind of flaky and spastic. I like hate that about us, but that's really generally unhealthy sevens. But healthier sevens, when they embrace their 5 and their 1, they can be really good researchers and thinkers. So some of the strengths of sevens: they are great at strategizing, super curious, always wanting to learn. They like to give people space to work things out for themselves and have their own like genius in it. But we also will like give you our opinions if you ask for them. We're people. We love people. We like to see big picture and like take others along for the big picture. I'm worried that my phone might die, so I may have to grab my charger in a second. Our weaknesses are, we need like constant mental stimulation. It's hard. I like try not to put myself totally into this because I know sometimes like, whatever, like definitely need constant mental stimulation. Like I enjoy sometimes being bored because then it gives me more ideas, but at the same time, I don't like being bored and I like try not to be bored. So that's definitely a 7 tendency. We can be scattered because we just have so much going on in our head, like all the time. And when we don't feel freedom and we feel trapped, we get like kind of angsty and not very happy. And we can really just like take the joy out of a room just as fast as we put it there. So yeah, that's like some of our weaknesses. Wings of a 7. So from my research, like when we become more balanced in our wings, we can become more of a balanced person. That's also with our like stress and growth numbers as well. So seeking balance in these can be super helpful for us as people to become healthier people and grow. So the 6, we have a wing 6 and a wing 8. We can use our 6 to think about consequences. If I do this, then this will happen. Am I okay with that? Sometimes 7s tend to be, we love to be spontaneous and just like, yeah, that's a good idea, let's do it. And sometimes you need that 6 to come in and be like, hey, if you do that, this is what's going to happen. Do we like that outcome? Do we not like that outcome? What if we try something else? So use the 6 to really try to critically think more before you just jump into something. And use the 6 to be loyal. A lot of the time, some 7s can really struggle with commitment. I don't necessarily struggle with commitment in like relationships and long-term things. My struggle with commitment tends to be more like committing to do something in the future. Yes, please comment if you are a 7. I want to know who all the 7s are. But yeah, anyway, so sometimes we can not want to commit, but 6s are super good at committing. So we can use that part of our tendencies and be more loyal and commit. 6s are also really good at analyzing things and being more analytical and bringing in data and all of that good stuff. And we can really use that data to learn. We love learning. So really using that analytical 6 can help bring in some more alignment with our 7 energy. Okay, so 8 is our other wing. This is great for like, 8s are also super good at committing, super good at following through. We can use this. Every number has the wings and you can really tap into both. And like I said before, it's really good to try to be balanced in both of those just for the health of you as a person. So tapping into this stuff is like, you are totally capable of doing this. So 8s will stand up for our rights and the rights of others. I think that's another like thing we can really tap into. 8s are really great at organizing themselves and organizing others. That's something we can really utilize in this business. Let's see. 8s have the courage to say the things that need to be said. So we as 7s have a really good gift of kind of fluffing up things to make them more easier to digest and easier to process. So if you can harness the courage of an 8 to be able to say the things that need to be said. I have a really strong 8 wing and I'm trying to like balance out with the 6 a little bit more. But if you can have the courage to say the things that need to be said, but then use your 7 to kind of like make it said in a way where people can actually receive it, that is like a huge strength that we have. Okay, so and then yeah, if you have a really strong 8 wing, you may have a feeling that you like need to be strong all the time. And it's really good if we can let that go a little bit and be vulnerable, because being vulnerable is what really connects us with people. And sevens, we're all about connecting and like really creating influence with people, mostly so we can do whatever we want. But we can use this for like positive things too.
Like,
somebody is not muted. I'm wondering where my closest. I need to run and get a cell phone charger really fast. I'm so sorry, but I don't want my phone to die, and that would just be horrible. So I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Now I won't be freaking out, but my phone's gonna die. All right. Now, sevens in stress and in growth. So, like I said, sevens in stress go to 1, and sevens in growth go to 5. So, understanding these and kind of embracing them and using them to balance us out is super helpful. So, when we go, and this is actually kind of funny because, so my husband Connor is a 5, and that's what sevens go to in health, and 5s go to 7 in stress. So, sorry, I'm like ran to get my phone charger, but anyway, I started noticing that when he was stressed out, he would kind of like embrace his 7 and like do something spontaneous with me or do something super fun. He would be less stressed. So I was like, okay, I think maybe like if you embrace your stress number, you can actually like be less stressed in general. So I started doing some research on that, and it's totally true. So why am I so out of breath? Lord, help me. Anyway, so I realized that if I embrace my 1, I actually like feel way more balanced in life. So one thing that I've done recently to try to like embrace that 1 side is I'll just organize one thing in my house every week. So I've done our pantry, closet, junk drawer, just like regular drawers, one thing a week though, so that I'm not like overwhelming myself. And if you haven't watched The Home Edit on Netflix yet, so good, so inspiring for organization. So that's super helpful. So that's one way that you can really like embrace the 1. And so using the 1 to focus more on the details. Sevens, we can be like a little oblivious sometimes because we're just enjoying life and we're just kind of assuming everyone else is enjoying life, and we're not really, you know, super concerned on the details. But 1s are, and we can use those tendencies to be a little bit more organized and focus on the details and really get things done. So was there anything else? 1s also are super good at like reforming others. And so we can do that and use our charm to kind of help people move along in life in a way where they can receive it. So I love that strength about us too. And then using your 5. So the 5 is super good at making sure that what we're sharing is true. So as I've gotten like more healthier in my life, I realized, you know, like I can share all this stuff, but if I'm not sharing truth, which I'm super passionate about being a truth seeker and like sharing truth, but sometimes like I can get excited about something. I now don't really share anything unless I've like really researched it and made sure that it's true. But when I was younger and less healthy and less experienced and honestly didn't have this tool of the Enneagram, I definitely was probably sharing things that maybe were not very well, you know, researched and all of that. So anyway, as you tap more into your 5, kind of think about it as like a 7 will kind of like know a lot, like know a little on a lot of topics. We'll just kind of like bounce around and get a general idea of things, where a 5 will really like deep dive into those and go deep in them with less. So if we can go less things more deep into it, that will really help your 7 brain. Okay, so let's see. A couple mindset shifts that have really helped me as a 7, especially in my business. The first one is for the goal to be harmony over balance. So I got this from one of the diamond drops that's in Leadership for OQ. If you haven't watched the diamond drops, there's like a whole unit on it in OQ, and they are so good. And if you haven't watched them, you're missing out. But one of the diamonds talks about this whole idea, and I think this may have come from Courtney Kreitz, but I'm not totally sure. Anyway, it's really good about, she talks about how even if we're not like mentally picturing this in our head, we generally try to make sure that our like work and life is like balanced, or like anything in life is balanced. And we think about that like mathematics scale that we had when we were little, where it's like you put something on here, and if it's heavier, you know, that scale. And so we think about life in that way a lot of the times, and life doesn't work like that. Like, it's never going to be fully balanced. And so realizing, she's talked about picturing like a soundboard instead of this balance thing. So like sometimes you got to turn the main vocal up. Sometimes you got to bring the background vocals up to like really make this harmony. So the goal is to shift things where they need to be shifted to create harmony instead of balance. This has super helped my 7 brain, because if we're just like always trying to seek balance, that can just be really cause a lot of anxiety. Or if you embrace that sometimes there's going to be more work in life, sometimes it's time for a little bit more play, sometimes we need to rest, like really just embracing life and making it a harmony instead of a balance. That's super helpful for me. Another mental shift that's really been helpful for me as a 7 is that work is good. We were meant to work. If you are a believer like I am, then you know that like when we believe the Lord put Adam and Eve in the garden, he said, you're going to work it and keep it before sin even entered into the world. So work is good, and embracing that, because 7s, we want to chase after what's good, what feels good, what we think is good. And we tend to like distance ourselves from pain and bad and all of that. So if we can really embrace that work is a good thing, that's meant to help us become more of who we're meant to be. It's meant to refine us, similarly to relationships. So seeing work as something that is good to do and a good thing, and not pushing it away with like pain and stuff. So that was a huge mental shift for me as well. And then also, you know, change is good, growth is good. Seeing these things as good because they're helping us become this giant tree that produces fruit, instead of, you know, dead and in our own little how we think life should go, because we're not willing to grow or change or anything like that. So tips for running your business as a 7. Now that I've gotten kind of through the whole what is a 7 and all of that. So some stuff that's really helped me as a 7 in my business: setting monthly goals that then break down into weekly goals that are goals that I know are going to help me get where I want to go. So for example, I will decide, okay, how many people do I want to enroll per month? And then like, obviously we know that people enrolling, they enroll in their season and in their time and all of that goodness, but there is a law of averages. And so realizing that, you know, for me, if I want to enroll 2 people a month, then I know that for sure I need to be talking to 30 to 40 people to build relationships. And then I need to be inviting, you know, 20 people to education, to offer to send out happy mail, something like that, like engaging them, making an ask, 20 people at least. And then I know that I'm probably going to enroll on average like 2 a month from that. And I do like try to think of my conversations as separate. Like, you know, I'm doing this conversation to build a relationship. I'm making an ask here. Bethany uses this amazing metaphor, I guess you could call it, where she talks about how like when you're contributing into somebody's piggy bank and then making a withdrawal from somebody's piggy bank. So I like keep those ideas of like conversations separate in my head. And then let's see, what other tips do I have? Getting into rhythms. So we live in a world that runs in rhythms. So seasons come and go, the tides come in and they go out. And so figuring out the rhythms that work for you. So like I have created like monthly rhythms and weekly rhythms. So an example of a monthly rhythm is at the beginning of each month, I know that I want to text all of the people that I have ownership of in my organization, the classes that they have available to them through our team this month, and announce any like incentives that I'm doing on starter kits. Like I want to do that at the beginning of every single month. That's a monthly rhythm for me. And then like a weekly rhythm would be every Monday night, I get on this call and I listen to the training, and then I also listen to the class, and I make sure that my team is also doing that and inviting people to that and all of that good stuff. That's a weekly rhythm. So I've created monthly and weekly rhythms for myself that have really helped me be able to do action, because action is so important. Okay, so let's see what else. And it can take a minute to like really get down these like rhythms in life and like figure out, okay, how many people do I need to talk to? How many people do I need to invite in order to maintain my goals? If you want to enroll 4 people a month, you need to make goals that, and I would talk to, you know, whoever your leader is about this. Like, do you think that these goals that I'm making are going to help me enroll the amount that I want to enroll? And that's just one example, but that's been super helpful for me. But I think it's important to remember that like we're all learning how to become CEOs in this. Like we're starting a business from nothing and learning how to be, you know, a manager and a CEO, and like that takes time and effort. And I think that 7s can be amazing at it when they really, you know, try. So it's all about committing to figure it out. I think that is super important, especially for 7s. Another tip that I have is to use Asana for to-do list items that I'm not actually going to do today, and for ideas. So if you haven't heard of Asana yet, it is an amazing like organization time management tool, and I love using it. They have these boards and you can make all these great lists and you can do checks when you're done, which I just love. So Asana is actually, it's also free. So it's amazing. If you haven't tried it yet, it's amazing. So I love to use that for to-do lists. Like what I do is I'll make a to-do list of the things that I actually am going to get done today. And then I highlight them. I check them off as I do them. Like I'll highlight what I'm working on, because as a 7, I can get really distracted. So it's super helpful if you actually highlight what you're working on right now and then check it off when you're done. Then highlight the next thing that you want to do. I don't go in order either. I just highlight the next thing I want to do. But I have all these ideas and all this stuff going on in my head that I'm not actually going to have time to do today. So having Asana where you can put in like, and I've organized it too, like, you know, to do for leaders, to do for members, whatever, like you can organize it however you want to, but keeping your long-term ideas and your more longer-term to-do list things in there has been super helpful for me. So I love that. Another awesome tip for working as a 7 is time blocking. Time blocking is huge. I feel like setting aside a certain amount of time, like saying, okay, I'm going to work on this for 30 minutes, or I'm going to work on this for an hour before I move on to do something else, is super helpful for a 7, because sometimes we can get really distracted really easily. We love new shiny things. And so it's important to try to really focus. I love to set a timer. So I'll set a timer for 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on this for 30 minutes. I'm not going to focus on anything else, and then do it and then move on to the next one. But time blocking is huge and super helpful when you're a 7. I mentioned this already, but use your 5 to deep dive on topics and then teach on them. So, you know, learn, teach. Don't try to like learn and get stuck in learning. You have to do action. Another tip I have was don't try to make yourself less to fit into others' boxes. A lot of the times 7s and 8s too, we're kind of told like, oh, you're so much, like you're too much, or, you know, whatever, like you're so loud, or, and we're not always loud because we don't always want to be loud, but we don't try to like lessen yourself or lessen your sparkle to like fit in other people's boxes. I feel like my whole life people are trying to put me in boxes, like, are you girly or are you tomboy? And it's like, I'm both, and it's okay to be both. Don't feel like you have to be in a box. Okay, what to embrace from your 7 in running your business. So embrace your optimism, especially like this is a long game. Like this is a long-term business. It's a 4-year career at least. So embracing the optimism that you have, that like it's going to happen eventually. Like obviously you have to work, you have to do action, but embracing that optimist side and not letting yourself get discouraged is a super strength that 7s have. So Jordan Schrant says you're only discouraged if you think discouraging thoughts. So we as 7s are super good at avoiding discouraging thoughts. So just don't think them and then you won't be discouraged. 7s are really great about thinking about how to do something better. So a lot of the times we're thinking all the time, like, how could I do this better? How could I do this smarter? How could I do this faster? How could I do this more efficiently? But what we need to do is decide what you're going to do and then do it for 60 to 90 days before you think, how could I do this better? How can I make it more efficient? Because we have to have consistency. If we're just like trying something, this is something that I really struggled with at the beginning of my business, is I would see all the things I could be doing to build my business, and I would get super distracted and try to do a little bit of each, and that doesn't work. What works is deciding what you're going to do, sticking to it for 60 to 90 days at least, and then evaluate, see what you can change, see what you can make better, brainstorm, all that good stuff, but be consistent for at least 60 to 90 days. Once we learn something we're super good at is once we learn about something and we get enthusiastic about it, we're really great at sharing it with others. So we're really naturally great at this business, because once you like have an oil testimony, you want to tell it to everybody. Once you have a good experience, you want to tell it to everybody. So embrace that about yourself and have those experiences so that you can get excited and share them with everybody. 7s tend to, when we're not healthy, we always want more. We always want more. How could it be more? How could it be better? What would make this better? And learning to be content with where you're at and being more satisfied is super helpful. Another thing is like 7s are very connected to nature. So embrace that and like learn more about nature. For me, learning about the seasons and how the seasons ebb and flow and change, and how seasons are short, and like learning to really embrace the season that you're in has been super helpful for me. 7s, we tend to really enjoy living in the future and how great and amazing we think the future is going to be, but really learning to embrace the now and learning how to love your life now is super, super important. And when we're just always thinking about the future, we're missing the now our whole life, and that's so sad. So like really embrace the now. What to work through as a 7. So I kind of already mentioned this, but don't get stuck in like learning so much that you're not doing any action. We love to learn, and we can kind of get like analysis paralysis, where you just want to like learn, and you're not sharing or doing any action. I wrote this: think it, learn it, teach it. Learn it, teach it. Talk to people, talk to people, talk to people. You have to be talking to people. If you're not talking to people, this business is not going to be successful for you. So don't get stuck in learning so much that you don't take action. Process your feelings and emotions. Don't avoid them. If that's journaling, if it's talking to your mom or your spouse, like it is for me, process your emotions. If you haven't seen the movie Inside Out, I would highly recommend 7s watch it, because we tend to be joy, and you need to let sadness sit with you, and you need to process through sadness so that you can feel full joy again. When we just avoid sadness, we're really missing out on even more joy, is the truth. Watch our treat yourself mentality. A lot of the times we can really we'll decide, oh, I'm just going to treat myself and let myself watch Netflix today instead of work. Don't do that. Set the times that you're going to work, like I said, with the monthly and weekly goals, and then deciding where you're going to time block so that you don't have this treat yourself mentality all the time. Rest. So 7s are not super talented at resting, really resting naturally. We're super good at indulging and wanting more entertainment, but actually resting, not so much. So figure out what really works for you for rest. So for me, that's like taking a bath or going on a walk, like in silence, like not listening to something while you're doing these things, just letting yourself be and actually resting, like stretching or doing something that's really resting, painting, like whatever that is for you, but not stimulating your brain and really resting, because resting breeds creativity, which is what we are also super good at. Don't get distracted by shiny new things. Pick what you do and do it. Let's see. I already talked about that. Make yourself finish things before you start new things. If you're a believer, pray for discipline and receive that discipline. We need more discipline. We need to grow that in ourselves. It's kind of like the opposite of the treat yourself mentality. So work on growing that in yourself, and yeah, like finish things, like make yourself, I like to like start 3 or 4 things at the same time, but then I'll make myself finish those 3 or 4 things before I move on to the next set of things that I want to do. I am not super great at like picking one thing, finishing it and like completely and then moving on. That bores me. So what I'll tend to do is like start 3 or 4 things, not like what I was talking about here, there. I'm just focusing on the one thing, but like a project or something. If you need to start some projects, like, you know, make sure you finish those projects you started before starting your next set of projects. Write things down. We think we can remember things and we can't. Like, our 7s have really good memories, and so we'll think that we're going to remember something and we're super optimistic that we're going to remember it, and we can't. Like, and it will stress you out that you're not remembering things. So just write it down. Then you don't have to have it taking space in your brain, and it's not going to stress you out that you might forget about it. Fight the fear of missing out. We like are always scared that we're going to be missing out on something, that something better is happening and we're not a part of it. Fight that. Like, be content in where you're at. Let's see. Be careful about your yes and committing to things. Like, we love to commit. We love to say yes because it makes people happy and we love seeing that happiness. But learning to say, that sounds amazing, can I get back to you on that, is key for 7s, because we'll just want to say yes, 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 I'll be there, I will do that. But we can't, because we'll just get so overwhelmed and there's way too much on our plate. So learning to say, that sounds amazing, but let me get back. Can I get back to you? Super, super helpful. Use your upline's tools. 7s, we really like the way that we do things. And so we can have a tendency to like want to make our own thing because we just like it that way. Using your upline's tools, especially when you're trying to build from distributor to silver, I think is so, so, so important, and has been huge for me when I kind of refocused on that. I've grown so much more. So I think that is super helpful. Okay, last thing, and then I'm going to be done. How to work with a 7. One of the most important things when working with a 7 is to be super clear. Clear is kind. So when you need them to do something or you want them to do something, outline what that's going to look like and tell them specifically what you want it, like how you want that presented. Do you want it in a Word document? Like, being more specific and then giving it to them is really great, because 7s, we like you to draw the box of what you want it to kind of be, but then let us do whatever we want in the box. So be clear. And if you, as a 7, if someone isn't clear with you, giving that feedback, like, how do you want me to give this to you? Like, what does that look like in your head? Like, asking questions for clarity is super helpful as a 7. Because we'll just kind of get spinning in our head if you don't ask for that clarity. And then we're like, I don't really know at all, because we'll have thousands of ideas, but not sure if that's the direction they want it to go. Another thing is having first draft dates is super helpful for 7 as well. So if you need it by a certain day, having a day before that will be the first draft. So, and then a 7 can send you the first draft and then make adjustments as needed before the actual day that it's due. Don't micromanage 7s. We don't like to be micromanaged. Like I said, give us the box, but then let us draw whatever we want in it. We're not the people to give like database stuff to. If you need it, like entry, like boring things, we are probably not your person. We're like learning how to do make ourselves do those things in our own businesses. So that's like, obviously we'll do them. We may say yes because we just want to make you happy, but it's life sucking for us, just so you know. We're amazing though at brainstorming and thinking quickly on our feet. So if you want some new ideas or you want to make a system better, we're super good at strategizing and making systems better. So we're super good at that. While we love being the life of the party, sometimes we don't always want to be. So having that pressure of like, oh, she's going to be fun, she's going to do that. We don't want that pressure. We want to just be who we are at that day, at that time, and not feel pressure to be something else, I guess, or to always be fun. We also really like to be serious sometimes. And especially when you get healthier sevens, as they get up into that 5, like they are much more like seeking knowledge and analytical over just wanting to have a good time. Try to stay positive and give us grace. A lot of sevens, especially when they're younger or unhealthy, they can not do what they say they're going to do. They can make a lot of promises that they don't actually end up being able to meet because they've just spread themselves out too thin. They can be forgetful because they'll think that they're going to remember something and be optimistic about that, and they're not. And so having grace with sevens and giving them another shot, giving them another chance. I know there's probably so many times a couple years ago that I did not do what I said I was going to do or whatever. And Bethany has been so great to like, you know, let me continue to blossom and be a part of her leadership. And I'm so thankful for that. Yeah, that is all I really have. I know we're kind of over on time. So
Thank you.
Dave, where are we going from here?
Yeah, thank you. I had one quick observation and question. Like, I've heard it said and observed this to be true that success is boring, right? Because it's doing the same kind of little actions once you find the thing that works. And I just kind of heard you reiterate that for sevens, that's maybe particularly challenging because you like the new flashy. And so maybe that's just something to take away. Do you have any outgoing comment on that?
I think that's so true. I work in a mortgage company for my day job for some like really successful people, and they say that too. The best business is a boring business because you're doing the same thing and you have it all down. I would say that is true when you're talking about the systems that you have in place. One thing I will say is, as a 7, like, let yourself be fun. Don't feel like all of your stuff has to be duplicatable. Like, obviously your systems and like, you know, having like, I like to provide like scripts for my girls when we do like weekly coaching calls, and like having those set things is super important. But don't, like, sometimes I like to have these like super fun parties at my house. And I know that's not super duplicatable, but I'm okay with that because that's one part of my business that I'm kind of allowing my 7 to be, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's end this recording. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I know everybody on the call, the great comments. And we've got the one-on-one class coming up here in just a couple minutes with Roger and Jessica. So I'll see everybody over there. Have a great evening.